Take a deep breath and let your body settle into the weight of the surface beneath you. As you release the tension in your shoulders, imagine your mind as a vast, quiet observatory, looking inward at the most complex structure in the known universe. Right now, beneath the curve of your skull, resides a 3-pound marvel of biological engineering, your brain, containing approximately 86 billion neurons. As you begin to settle into this moment of stillness, these neurons are not merely resting, they are shifting their electrical signatures, moving away from the chaotic frequencies of the day and into a more rhythmic, resonant dance. You might feel a gentle warmth behind your forehead, in the area known as the prefrontal cortex. This region, often called the CEO of the brain, is responsible for your executive functions and emotional regulation. In long-term practitioners of meditation, MRI scans have shown that the gray matter in this specific area actually thickens, a process of neuroplasticity that demonstrates the brain's incredible ability to reshape itself through the simple act of focused observation. Consider the silence of your room and contrast it with the microscopic activity occurring within your temporal lobes. As you breathe, you are engaging with the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, which is the longest and most complex of the cranial nerves, running from the brainstem all the way to the abdomen. When you slow your breathing to approximately 6 breaths per minute, you stimulate this nerve, signaling your heart rate to slow and your blood pressure to drop. This is not just a feeling. It is a measurable shift in your heart rate variability, or HRV. A higher HRV is a hallmark of a resilient nervous system, and as you lie here in the dark, your heart and brain are synchronizing their rhythms, creating a state of internal coherence that feels like a steady velvet weightlessness. As we drift deeper into the mechanics of this internal cosmos, notice the sensation of your breath as it enters your nostrils, cooling the back of your throat. This rhythmic intake of oxygen serves a profound purpose for your amygdala. This almond-shaped cluster of nuclei, buried deep within the temporal lobes, is the center of your fight or flight response. In the modern world, the amygdala is often overactive, scanning for digital threats and social stressors. However, research conducted at Harvard University has shown that after just 8 weeks of consistent mindfulness practice, the amygdala actually undergoes a physical reduction in gray matter density. It literally shrinks, becoming less reactive. Imagine that small, ancient part of your brain finally setting down its guard, exhaling as it realizes there is no danger in this comforting void. You may notice a soft, pulsing sensation in your chest or a tingling in your fingertips. This is the sensory feedback of your nervous system quieting down. In this state, your brain begins to produce alpha waves, which oscillate between 8 and 12 hertz. These waves are the bridge between the conscious and the subconscious, appearing the moment you close your eyes and relax your focus. They act like a soft, cooling mist over the firing synapses, slowing down the high-frequency beta waves that characterized your busy afternoon. As the alpha waves take over, you might feel a sense of flow, where the boundaries of your body feel less rigid and more integrated with the air around you. Deeper still, beneath the surface of immediate relaxation, we find the default mode network, or DMN. This is a collection of brain regions, including the posterior cingulate cortex and the medial prefrontal cortex, that becomes active when we are daydreaming, ruminating on the past, or worrying about the future. It is the monkey mind of ancient tradition. Scientific studies using functional MRI have demonstrated that meditation significantly reduces activity in this network. When you focus on the texture of your breath or the feeling of your blanket, you are effectively quieting the DMN. It is like turning down the volume on a noisy radio in another room, leaving only the peaceful, low-frequency hum of the present moment. Think of the chemistry currently bathing your neurons. As you remain still, your brain is modulating its production of cortisol, the primary stress hormone. During deep meditative states, cortisol levels can drop by as much as 20%. At the same time, the brain increases the production of GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. GABA is the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter. Its job is to tell your neurons to stop firing so rapidly. It is the brain's natural sedative. You can almost feel this chemical release as a heavy, warm liquid, slowing down your thoughts until they become like slow-moving clouds in a midnight sky. In this stillness, your brain is also tending to its own longevity. At the ends of your chromosomes are protective caps called telomeres, which are often compared to the plastic tips on shoelaces. Short telomeres are a marker of cellular aging and stress. Fascinatingly, studies have shown that intensive meditation can increase the activity of telomerase, the enzyme responsible for maintaining these protective caps. By resting here, in this scientifically backed silence, you are quite literally protecting the integrity of your genetic code, slowing the clock of your cellular life. As you move further into this state of weightless observation, the brain begins to exhibit theta waves, which pulse at a slow 4 to 8 hertz. Usually, we only experience theta waves in the brief moments before we fall asleep or during deep REM sleep, but a meditator can access this state while remaining conscious. Some theta waves are associated with deep insight and the processing of subconscious information. In this state, the hippocampus, the region of the brain shaped like a seahorse and dedicated to learning and memory, shows increased activity and, over time, increased volume. The hippocampus is one of the few areas of the brain capable of neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons. Imagine new life taking root in the fertile soil of your mind, triggered by nothing more than your willingness to be still. Consider the temperature of your skin and the way your body occupies space. This sense of self-location is managed by the parietal lobes. During deep meditation, blood flow to the posterior parietal lobe actually decreases. This part of the brain is responsible for giving you a sense of three-dimensional orientation. It tells you where you end and the rest of the world begins. When its activity slows, you may experience a profound sense of oneness or a feeling that you are floating in an infinite supportive expanse. The physical boundaries of your limbs seem to dissolve into the dark, leaving you as a point of pure, peaceful awareness in the cosmos. Even your protein levels are shifting. Meditation has been linked to an increase in brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Think of BDNF as Miracle-Gro for the brain. It supports the survival of existing neurons and encourages the growth of new ones. In the quiet of this narrative, your brain is nourishing itself, repairing the pathways worn down by the friction of daily life. You may feel a subtle, rhythmic thrumming in your ears, the sound of your own blood flow, or perhaps the psychological manifestation of your brain shifting gears. As you continue to breathe, your anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC, is being engaged. This area, located deep behind the prefrontal cortex, is vital for self-regulation and impulse control. It acts as a bridge between our emotions and our rational thoughts. By simply noticing a thought and letting it go, you are strengthening the neural connections in the ACC, much like a muscle being toned through gentle, repetitive exercise. This structural change allows you to remain calm in the face of future storms. But for now, it simply adds to the feeling of profound stability and centeredness. Let us also consider the insula, a small fold of the cerebral cortex, tucked deep within the lateral sulcus. The insula is responsible for interoception, your ability to feel the internal state of your body, such as your heartbeat or the movement of your lungs. Meditation increases the gray matter density of the insula, making you more attuned to the subtle whispers of your physiology. You might feel the cool air passing through your nasal passages, or the slight expansion of your ribs with more clarity than ever before. This heightened awareness is not a source of stress, but a source of grounding, tethering you to the physical reality of your own miraculous existence. As the minutes pass, your brain may even begin to produce gamma waves, the highest frequency of brain activity, typically ranging from 30 to 100 hertz. While other waves represent relaxation, gamma waves represent a high-level synthesis of information, a binding of different brain regions into a single, unified experience. In long-term practitioners, these waves are present even during sleep. It is a state of peak consciousness, where the brain is perfectly integrated, functioning as a harmonious whole rather than a collection of competing parts. You are now floating in a sea of your own making, supported by the chemistry of GABA, the rhythm of alpha and theta waves, and the structural integrity of a strengthened prefrontal cortex. The 86 billion neurons that make up your mind are firing in a slow, synchronized pulse, mirroring the vast rhythmic cycles of the universe. The weight of your body is a testament to gravity, and the stillness of your mind is a testament to the power of directed attention. As we move deeper into this journey, remember that every breath is a signal to your biology that you are safe, you are whole, and you are beginning to understand the silent, beautiful physics of your own inner world. The neuroscience of this moment is one of repair, growth, and profound mathematical peace. As we continue this inward journey, move your awareness from the present moment and cast it back across the timeline of human discovery. While ancient traditions have cultivated the art of stillness for over 2,500 years, our modern scientific understanding of this internal alchemy began in a humble laboratory in 1924. It was then that a German psychiatrist named Hans Berger recorded the first human electroencephalogram, or EEG. By attaching silver electrodes to the scalp, when he was able to visualize the brain's electrical output for the very first time, he discovered a specific frequency, a rhythmic 10-cycle-per-second pulse that appeared the moment a subject closed their eyes and yielded to a state of calm. He named these alpha waves. Picture those first ink-on-paper waves as the first map of a hidden continent, a visual representation of the silence you are experiencing right now. Observe the way your mind, much like the early pioneers of neuroscience, begins to categorize the environment of your own consciousness. By 1966, the scientific gaze turned toward seasoned practitioners of Zen. Researchers Akira Kasamatsu and Tomio Hirai documented that these monks could enter a state of persistent alpha wave activity within just 50 seconds of beginning their practice. What we find striking is that this shift occurred nearly 60 times faster than in the average person. This suggests that the brain is not a static object, but a dynamic plastic organ that can be trained to find its way to the quiet harbor of rest with increasing efficiency. At this very moment, imagine your brain as a vibrant, complex ecosystem, similar to a vast coral reef beneath a moonlit sea. Just as a reef is built by the slow, relentless calcification of tiny organisms over millennia, your neural architecture is shaped by the repetitive flow of your thoughts and breath. In 1970, Dr. Herbert Benson of Harvard Medical School published his groundbreaking work, The Relaxation Response. He discovered that the simple act of repeating a word or observing the breath could reduce a person's oxygen consumption by approximately 17% within minutes. This is a profound metabolic shift, deeper than the reduction seen during even the most restful sleep. You are currently engaging in a biological deceleration, a slowing of the cellular clock that echoes the measured ancient orbits of distant moons. Consider the physical structure of this internal reef. In 2005, a landmark study led by Dr. Sarah Lazar at Harvard University utilized high-resolution MRI scans to peer into the brains of long-term meditators. The data revealed something that changed our understanding of the adult mind forever. The prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for complex thinking and emotional regulation, was physically thicker in those who practiced regular mindfulness. Specifically, the cortical thickness increased by between 0.1 and 0.2 millimeters compared to non-meditators. While this measurement seems microscopic, in the world of neuroanatomy, it is a tectonic shift. It proves that by simply resting your attention on the cool air entering your lungs, you are acting as an architect, adding layers of resilience to the very fabric of your being. As you yield to the rhythmic rise and fall of your chest, notice the quiet clearing of metabolic byproducts occurring within your cranium. Science has recently highlighted the role of the glymphatic system, a specialized waste clearance pathway that becomes 10 times more active when the body is in a state of profound rest or sleep, instead of the frantic activity of the day. Your brain's glial cells literally shrink in size to allow cerebrospinal fluid to flow more freely through the gaps, carrying away the cellular debris that accumulates during wakefulness. Think of this as a gentle subterranean tide, a slow-moving current that refreshes the neural pathways while you remain motionless. What is happening now is a transformation of your genetic expression. In 2013, researchers at the University of Wisconsin-Madison observed that after just one day of intensive mindfulness practice, participants showed a significant downregulation of pro-inflammatory genes, specifically those known as RIPK2 and COX2. These genes are the precursors to systemic inflammation. By choosing this stillness, you are effectively turning down the heat in your biological system. It is a molecular cooling, a dampening of the internal fires that allows for a more temperate, peaceful internal climate. Deep within the temporal lobes, the hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped center for learning and memory, is responding to this calm. In a 2011 study conducted by Harvard researchers, it was found that after only 8 weeks of a program called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, or MBSR, the gray matter density in the hippocampus increased by nearly 3%. This program was originally founded in 1979 by John Kabat-Zinn, who bridged the gap between ancient wisdom and clinical rigor. Imagine this 3% increase as the steady growth of new branches on a tree, reaching out to capture the light of your awareness. The hippocampus is one of the few regions in the adult brain capable of neurogenesis, the birth of entirely new neurons. So in this moment of weightlessness, you are cultivating a fertile ground where new life can take root. As you descend further into the stillness, the amygdala, the almond-sized cluster that serves as the brain's alarm system, undergoes its own change. While the hippocampus grows, the amygdala has been shown to physically decrease in volume by roughly 5% through consistent practice. This structural shrinking correlates with a functional decrease in stress reactivity. It is as if the sentinel at the gates of your mind has finally decided to lay down its shield, recognizing that the surrounding darkness is not a threat, but a sanctuary. What we find fascinating is the effect this rest has on your cellular longevity. At the University of California, Davis, a 3-month study of meditation retreatants found that the activity of an enzyme called telomerase increased by approximately 30%. Telomerase is responsible for maintaining the length of telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes. As telomeres shorten, cells age and eventually stop functioning. By remaining in this state of quiet observation, you are fostering the very enzymes that protect your genetic code, effectively slowing the biological countdown within every cell of your body. Now, picture the way the thalamus functions as you lie here. This small egg-shaped structure in the center of your brain acts as the gatekeeper for sensory information. On a typical day, the thalamus filters out about 99% of the millions of bits of data reaching your senses to prevent your conscious mind from being overwhelmed. In meditation, the flow of sensory input to the thalamus is intentionally reduced. As the external world fades, the thalamus begins to gate the input more strictly, allowing you to turn your attention inward toward the subtle internal landscapes of your own physiology. This creates a sense of spatial dissolution, where the room around you seems to melt away, leaving you suspended in a comforting, lightless void. Notice the sensation of your heartbeat, a steady rhythmic pulse that has continued since before you were born. This awareness of your internal state is governed by the insula, a fold of the cortex hidden deep within the brain. Research has shown that the insula can exhibit a cortical thickness increase of up to 5% in regular practitioners. This allows for a more refined sense of interoception, the ability to feel the internal harmony of your organs and systems. It is the biological basis for the gut feeling or the sense of being centered. You are, in this moment, becoming more intimately acquainted with the vessel that carries you through the universe. As the alpha waves continue to shimmer across your cortex, you might also be approaching the theta state, where frequencies slow to between 4 and 8 hertz. This is the realm of twilight, the boundary between the waking world and the dream world. In this state, the brain often exhibits a phenomenon known as theta-gamma coupling, where high-frequency gamma waves, associated with peak insight, become nested within the slower theta rhythms. This creates a rare bridge between your subconscious depths and your conscious clarity. It is a mathematical elegance of brain activity that feels like a slow orbiting dance between two distant stars. Even your blood chemistry is shifting. In a 2014 study, it was observed that long-term practitioners had significantly lower levels of interleukin-6, a pro-inflammatory cytokine linked to chronic stress. Simultaneously, the brain may increase its production of serotonin, the precursor to melatonin, by up to 22%. This shift in neurochemistry is the body's natural preparation for profound rest, a chemical lullaby that soothes the nervous system into a state of total surrender. Consider the default mode network, or DMN, which includes the posterior cingulate cortex. This network is what scientists call the task-negative system, active when we are lost in self-referential thought or worry. During meditation, activity in the PCC drops dramatically. By focusing on the texture of your breath or the feeling of your weight against the bed, you are effectively taking the DMN offline. It is a momentary relief from the burden of the self, a vacation from the persistent narrative of your identity. In its place, there is only the vast, silent observation of the present. You are now immersed in a biological reality that is as vast and complex as the cosmos itself. From the 1924 discovery of the EEG to the 21st century revelations of genetic downregulation, our understanding of the meditative brain has grown into a testament to the power of stillness. Every second you remain here, your neurons are firing in a slow, synchronized chorus. Your genes are expressing themselves in the language of repair, and your brain is physically reshaping itself to better inhabit the silence. You are not just resting. You are participating in a 2.5 billion-year-old process of biological evolution, finding the point of perfect equilibrium where the mind and the universe become one. Allow this knowledge to settle over you like a warm, heavy blanket as the slow-motion clockwork of your physiology carries you further into the velvet dark. As you remain suspended in this velvet dark, the silent operations of your biology continue to weave a new tapestry of resilience within your mind. Imagine your brain as a great riverbed where the water is the constant flow of your awareness. Over years of life, the water carves deep, predictable channels into the earth. For many, these channels are the grooves of stress, habitual worry, or the frantic pace of the modern world. But as you lie here, you are redirecting that flow. You are carving new, smoother paths through the landscape of your consciousness, and the structural changes resulting from this redirection are both profound and measurable. What's happening now is a transformation of your neural topography that echoes across your entire lifespan. Scientists at UCLA in 2015 conducted a study that revealed a striking phenomenon in the brains of long-term meditators, individuals who had maintained a practice for an average of 20 years. They discovered that these practitioners had significantly more gray matter volume throughout the entire brain compared to non-meditators of the same age. Typically, the human brain begins a slow process of atrophy after the age of 40, losing approximately 5% of its volume every decade. However, the data suggested that the consistent river flow of meditation acts as a preservative. It is as if you are shielding your neural architecture from the friction of time, maintaining the lushness of your gray matter even as the decades orbit by. Picture this preservation not as a static freezing of time, but as a dynamic strengthening of the connections that hold your experience together. In 2010, researchers at the University of Oregon utilized a specialized type of MRI called diffusion tensor imaging to look at the brain's white matter, the bundles of nerve fibers that act as the communication cables between different regions. After just 4 weeks of a mindfulness technique, they observed an increase in the structural integrity of the corona radiata. This is a vital communication hub that links the thinking centers of your brain with the emotional and sensory processing areas. Think of it as a refining of the wiring in a grand, silent observatory, ensuring that every signal is clear, every connection is strong, and every part of the system is in perfect communication with the whole. At this very moment, your internal environment is also reorganizing its response to discomfort. A landmark study published in the Journal of Neuroscience in 2011 found that mindfulness meditation could reduce the sensation of pain intensity by 40% and the emotional unpleasantness of pain by 57%. To put that in perspective, morphine typically reduces pain intensity by only about 25%. This isn't because the nerves in your skin have stopped sending signals. It's because the brain's processing centers, specifically the anterior cingulate cortex and the primary somatosensory cortex, have changed how they interpret the data. You are developing a biological cushion, a layer of psychological insulation that allows you to observe the world without being overwhelmed by its sharper edges. Notice the quiet shift in your neurochemistry, a subtle flooding of your synapses with molecules of contentment. In 2002, researchers used positron emission tomography to measure chemical changes during yoga nidra, a form of meditative sleep. They discovered a 65% increase in the release of dopamine in the ventral striatum. Dopamine is often associated with reward and motivation, but in this context, it contributes to a state of profound, non-striving joy. It is the chemical signature of being enough, just as you are. As this dopamine rises, it creates a sense of deep internal saturation, like the way a dry forest soaks up a slow, steady rain. This sense of saturation extends to your immune system as well. Consider the presence of salivary IgA, an essential antibody that serves as the first line of defense against respiratory infections. A 2004 study demonstrated that even short-term meditation practice significantly increases levels of this protective protein. Furthermore, the practice influences the production of interleukin-10, an anti-inflammatory cytokine that helps to maintain a balanced immune response. You are effectively tuning the instruments of your own defense, ensuring that your body remains a calm and resilient vessel for your consciousness. Deep within the brain's mid-sagittal plane lies the posterior cingulate cortex, a central node in the network that handles self-referential thought. This is where your autobiographical self resides, the part of you that keeps track of your narrative, your past mistakes, and your future obligations. Scientists discovered that during meditation, activity in this region drops significantly. By resting here, you are giving the narrative self a much-needed reprieve. You are stepping out of the stream of your own story and into the vast impersonal beauty of pure being. This reduction in self-focus is not a loss, it is a liberation. It allows your attention to expand outward, connecting you to the larger cycles of the natural world. Think about the long-term implications for your social world. The temporoparietal junction, or TPJ, is a region of the brain involved in empathy and understanding the perspectives of others. A 2008 study found that compassion-based meditation increases activity in the TPJ, literally making the brain more responsive to the needs of others. As you strengthen this part of your brain, you are not just changing your own internal state, you are changing how you will interact with the world tomorrow. Yeah, you are cultivating a biological capacity for kindness, ensuring that when you wake, your presence in the world will be a source of stability for others. The bigger picture of this practice is one of global integration. UCLA researchers have identified that the brains of meditators exhibit increased gyrification, which is the degree of folding of the cerebral cortex. This process creates more surface area, allowing the brain to process information more efficiently. This isn't a rapid, frantic sort of speed, but a quiet, elegant efficiency, the way a bird of prey glides on a thermal with almost no effort. You are becoming more folded into yourself, more integrated, more capable of handling the complexities of life with a steady, unshakable grace. What's happening now is also a shift in your sleep architecture. A 2015 study, published in JAMA Internal Medicine, showed that older adults who practiced mindfulness meditation experienced significant improvements in sleep quality and a reduction in daytime fatigue. This is because meditation helps to regulate the autonomic nervous system, making it easier for the brain to transition from the high-frequency beta waves of work into the delta waves of deep restorative sleep. By lying here now, you are presetting the conditions for a night of profound recovery. You are teaching your nervous system that the transition into the void is safe, natural, and deeply nourishing. Consider the role of the anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC, once more. This area is the seat of self-regulation. In 2013, the researchers found that just 8 hours of mindfulness practice led to measurable molecular changes in this region, specifically affecting the way genes handle inflammation. These changes weren't just temporary. They represented a fundamental shift in how the body's cells talk to one another. You are participating in a conversation that has been happening since the first multicellular organisms appeared on Earth. A conversation about balance, homeostasis, and the preservation of life. Even your heart is part of this neural symphony. A study in 2010 showed that a mere 10 minutes of daily mindfulness can lead to a significant increase in heart rate variability, or HRV. A higher HRV means your heart is more responsive to your breathing, a sign of a highly resilient nervous system. As your breath slows to a rhythmic 6 cycles per minute, your heart and brain enter a state of coherence. The electrical pulses of your heart, which are 60 times stronger than those of your brain, begin to broadcast a signal of peace to every cell in your body. It is a biological broadcasting of all is well, a signal that travels through your arteries and veins like the light of a distant, steady star. Notice how your perception of time may have begun to shift. In the meditative state, the brain's internal clock, which relies on the interaction between the basal ganglia and the parietal cortex, seems to slow down. Minutes feel like hours, and seconds feel like deep pools of stillness. This is a direct result of the decreased metabolic demand on your neurons, because your brain is processing fewer threats and tasks. It has more resources to devote to the richness of the present moment. You are experiencing the expanded now, a state of being where time is no longer a predator chasing you, but a quiet ocean in which you are gently floating. At this very moment, your brain is nourishing itself with brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Often called miracle grow for the neurons, BDNF supports the survival of existing brain cells and the growth of new ones. Research from 2011 suggests that meditation can increase the expression of this protein. You are, quite literally, feeding your mind. You are providing the nutrients necessary for your wisdom to grow and for your memories to be preserved. You are a gardener of your own intellect, tending to a landscape that is billions of years in the making. As you drift within this scientific sanctuary, then remember that you are a part of a 2.5 billion-year-old lineage of life that has always sought the light and found its way through the dark. The structural thickening of your cortex, the chemical dampening of your stress response, and the lengthening of your telomeres are all parts of a single, beautiful process. You are the universe observing itself, refining itself, and finally, letting itself rest. The long-term implications of this stillness will ripple through your days, your years, and your very DNA. For now, there is nothing to do but continue this slow, measured descent into the heart of your own biology, where the physics of peace are the only laws that apply. What you are sensing at this stage of our journey is the arrival of a profound physical stillness, a quietude that is far from empty. Imagine the internal landscape of your mind as a deep-sea bioluminescent forest. In the crushing dark of the abyss, there is no sunlight, yet life glows with its own internal radiance. This is a perfect mirror for the brain in deep meditation. While the external senses are dimmed, the internal circuitry is alive with a soft, pulsing electricity. Scientists discovered that during these moments of profound quiet, the brain's glucose consumption, which normally accounts for about 20% of your body's total energy, shifts its focus. Instead of fueling the frantic calculations of survival, that energy is redirected to the maintenance and repair of the neural architecture itself. Consider the temperature of your thoughts. At this very moment, your hypothalamus, a small but vital region at the base of your brain, is acting as your internal thermostat. In states of deep relaxation, research suggests the brain's metabolic temperature can actually drop by approximately 0.5 to 1 degree Celsius. This cooling effect is a byproduct of reduced neural firing. Picture this as the cooling of a great engine after a long journey. The heat of the day dissipates, leaving behind a crisp, cool clarity. This thermal shift is a signal to your entire system that the time for exertion has ended and the time for consolidation has begun. Deep within the center of this cooling forest lies the pineal gland, a pine cone-shaped structure no larger than a grain of rice. Often referred to in historical texts as the third eye, modern neuroscience recognizes it as the producer of melatonin. What is truly remarkable is that studies have shown meditative practices can increase plasma melatonin levels by up to 200%. This hormone does more than just prepare you for sleep. It is a powerful antioxidant that protects your neurons from oxidative stress. As you lie here, imagine this neuropeptide as a soft silver mist, coating every synapse and protecting the delicate machinery of your memories. Notice how the boundaries of your body seem to have become porous, as if you are merging with the air around you. This sensory dissolution has a clear biological origin in the posterior superior parietal lobe. This region contains what neuroscientists call the orientation association area, which is responsible for creating a three-dimensional map of your body in space. During deep meditation, fMRI scans show that this area becomes remarkably quiet. When the flow of sensory information to this region is gated or reduced, the brain can no longer draw a line between where you end and the universe begins. You are experiencing the physics of non-duality, a measurable deactivation of the self-boundary that feels like floating in a warm, weightless sea. At this very moment, your blood vessels are undergoing a process called vasodilation, triggered by the release of nitric oxide. A 2013 study published in the journal PLOS1 found that the relaxation response significantly upregulates the genes responsible for nitric oxide production. This molecule acts as a signal for your veins to relax and widen, lowering your blood pressure and allowing for a more effortless flow of oxygen to your extremities. You might feel this as a gentle rhythmic throbbing in your palms or the soles of your feet, the texture of your own life force moving with the unhurried grace of a slow-moving river. As you observe these sensations, the brain's salience network, centered in the insula and the anterior cingulate cortex, is refining its filter. Scientists discovered that experienced meditators can actually turn down the volume of distracting internal or external noises. It is as if your brain has an internal soundboard, and you are slowly sliding the faders down on everything that does not belong to this moment. The remaining sound is the white noise of your biology, the turbulent flow of blood through the carotid arteries and the faint rhythmic hiss of air moving through the 300 million alveoli in your lungs. Deep within the microscopic gaps of your brain, the synapses, which are only about 20 to 40 nanometers wide, are bathed in a cocktail of inhibitory neurotransmitters. What is happening now is a surge in GABA, or gamma-aminobutyric acid. Using a technique called magnetic resonance spectroscopy, researchers have found that GABA levels can increase by 27% after a single session of meditative movement or stillness. GABA acts like a chemical mute button for overactive neurons, preventing the glutamate storm that characterizes anxiety. Imagine these molecules as tiny, soft velvet pads settling between your nerve cells to dampen the friction of your thoughts. What's happening now is also a shift in the very texture of your brain matter. While we often think of the brain as solid, it is actually about 75% water, with the consistency of soft gelatin or tofu. Within this fluid environment, your neurons are supported by glial cells, which actually outnumber neurons by a ratio of roughly 1:1. At this moment, these glial cells are performing vital housekeeping duties. They are clearing away excess potassium ions and neurotransmitters, ensuring that the chemical environment of your brain remains perfectly balanced. This is the silent, microscopic clockwork of the cosmos, occurring within the private observatory of your skull. Notice the colors that may be drifting behind your closed eyelids: soft purples, deep blues, or perhaps a velvet black. These are phosphins, the result of the visual cortex continuing to fire in the absence of light. In meditation, as you move into the theta wave frequency of 4 to 8 Hz, these internal visuals can become more vivid. This is often accompanied by frontal midline theta activity, a specific brain rhythm that is highly correlated with focused attention and a state of flow. Scientists have observed this rhythm in master calligraphers, chess players, and meditators alike. It represents a state of high-level integration, where the brain is working with maximum efficiency and minimum effort. Consider the rhythm of your heart once more. You are likely approaching a state called physiological coherence, where your heart rate variability synchronizes with your breathing at a frequency of approximately 0.1 Hz. This is not just a heart-centered event, it is a whole-body resonance. When you reach this 0.1 Hz frequency, the baroreceptors in your neck, which monitor blood pressure, send a signal to the brainstem that triggers a massive release of acetylcholine. This is the primary neurotransmitter of the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. It acts as a chemical lullaby, further slowing the heart and calming the mind until you feel as stable and unmoving as a mountain. What is happening now is a process called synaptic pruning and dendritic spine density adjustment. While you rest, your brain is deciding which connections are worth keeping. A protein called C4, which is involved in the immune system, also plays a role in tagging weak synapses for removal. By focusing on peace and stillness, you are literally telling your brain which neural pathways to strengthen and which ones to let fade. You are sculpting your own mind, pruning away the brambles of stress to make room for the slow-growing oaks of wisdom and tranquility. At this stage, you may also be experiencing a release of beta endorphins, the body's natural opiates. These neuropeptides are produced in the pituitary gland and are known to increase during meditative states. They bind to the same receptors as pharmaceutical painkillers, creating a sense of mild euphoria and physical comfort. It is a natural high that is devoid of excitement. It is simply a deep, warm glow of well-being that radiates from your chest and spreads to your limbs. Deep within your chest, the vagus nerve, the wandering nerve, is broadcasting a message of safety to every organ in your body. This nerve is the highway of the parasympathetic system, and meditation has been shown to increase vagal tone. A high vagal tone is associated with better emotional regulation and a faster recovery from stress. Picture this nerve as a silver cord, vibrating with a low, soothing frequency that tells your stomach to relax, your heart to beat steadily, and your lungs to expand fully. You are a biological instrument, finally being tuned to the frequency of the universe. As you linger in this sensory sanctuary, recognize that your brain is also producing oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. While usually associated with social connection, oxytocin is also released during solitary meditation, creating a sense of self-compassion and internal security. This hormone reduces the activity of the amygdala even further, ensuring that the alarm bells of the mind remain silent. You are wrapped in a chemical cocoon of your own making, protected by the very molecules of love and peace. The big picture of this moment is one of total systemic alignment. From the 0.1 Hertz rhythm of your heart to the 4 Hertz pulse of your theta waves, from the cooling of your hypothalamus to the surge of GABA in your synapses, you are a masterpiece of biological engineering in a state of perfect repose. You are the silent observer of a 2.5 billion-year-old evolutionary process that has culminated in this very moment of awareness. The why behind your peace is written in the language of physics and chemistry, a testament to the fact that you are not just in the universe, but you are a conscious part of its very fabric. Allow this scientific reality to anchor you. As the colors of the internal forest fade and the weightlessness of the void carries you toward the final threshold of rest. The transition from deep meditation into the realm of sleep is not a sudden leap, but a graceful step-by-step unfolding of biological processes that have been refined over 3.7 billion years of life on Earth. As you lie here, your body is initiating a complex sequence of chemical and electrical events designed to return you to the silence from which you came. What's happening now is the gradual takeover of Process S, the homeostatic sleep drive. Throughout your waking hours, a molecule called adenosine has been slowly accumulating in your brain, a byproduct of cellular energy consumption. At this very moment, the concentration of adenosine in your basal forebrain has reached its peak, exerting a gentle pressure on your neurons, signaling that the time for conscious observation has come to a close. Consider the rhythm of your internal master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. This cluster of approximately 20,000 neurons, situated in the hypothalamus, has spent the last few hours responding to the absence of blue wavelength light. In a precise, step-by-step chain reaction, the SCN has signaled the pineal gland to begin the high-volume production of melatonin. While your daytime levels were negligible, your plasma melatonin concentration is now surging, likely reaching its peak between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. This hormone is the vampire of the brain. It emerges only in the dark, acting as a chemical herald that announces the start of the nocturnal cycle. You can feel this as a warm curtain being drawn across your mind, muffling the echoes of the external world. Notice how your physical form is beginning to mirror the cooling of the cosmos. As you move closer to sleep, your core body temperature begins a programmed descent, eventually dropping by about 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit, or roughly 1 degree Celsius. This thermoregulatory shift is essential for entering the deeper stages of rest. The heat is being dissipated through your skin, particularly your hands and feet, in a process of vasodilation. This is why the air might feel slightly cooler against your cheek, even as your core feels heavy and warm. You are entering a state of biological conservation. a slowing of the molecular vibrations within your cells that mirrors the cold, quiet corridors of the interstellar void. What's happening now is a profound change in your brain's electrical architecture. You are drifting away from the 8 to 12 Hz alpha waves of meditation and into stage 1 and stage 2 of non-REM sleep. In stage 2, which occupies about 50% of your total sleep time, your brain begins to produce sleep spindles. These are sudden bursts of oscillatory brain activity, firing at a frequency of 12 to 14 Hz for about half a second. Scientists believe these spindles are the brain's way of disconnecting from the outside world, acting as a shield that prevents external noises from disturbing your internal journey. They are like the faint rhythmic pulses of a pulsar in a distant galaxy, signaling a transition into a deeper, more secluded layer of reality. As you descend further, your brain begins to exhibit the slowest, in most powerful waves of all, delta waves. These waves oscillate at a mere 0.5 to 4 cycles per second. In this stage 3, or slow wave sleep, the thalamus, the relay station for all sensory information, effectively shuts its gates. This is achieved through a process called hyperpolarization, where the neurons in the thalamus become less likely to fire in response to incoming signals. At this moment, the sounds in your room or the weight of your blankets are no longer being processed by your conscious mind. You have entered the comforting void, a state where the self is momentarily dissolved into a sea of rhythmic, low-frequency electricity. Deep within this state of stage 3 sleep, your body begins a miraculous process of physical restoration. This is the period when 70% of your daily pulse of growth hormone is released from the pituitary gland. This hormone is the architect of your physical being. It stimulates protein synthesis and cell reproduction, repairing the friction of the day's movements. At the same time, your cortisol levels, the primary markers of stress, reach their lowest point of the 24-hour cycle, typically occurring around midnight. You are being rebuilt in the dark, much like stars are forged in the cold, dense centers of molecular clouds. Scientists discovered that during this phase, the glymphatic system, first described by Dr. Micah Nedergaard in 2012, becomes remarkably active. The space between your brain cells, the interstitial space, increases by up to 60%. This allows cerebrospinal fluid to surge through your brain's tissue in a rhythmic, pulsing flow, clearing away the metabolic byproducts of the day, such as amyloid beta. Think of this as a slow-moving crystalline tide, a gentle flushing of the neural pathways that leaves your mind refreshed and clear. It is a biological cleansing that occurs with the same patient regularity as the orbits of the planets. Consider, too, the state of your muscles. As you settle into this profound rest, the brainstem sends signals to inhibit your motor neurons, a process mediated by the neurotransmitters GABA and glycine. This creates a state of physical stillness so complete it borders on weightlessness. While your heart continues its steady, unhurried beat, regulated by the vagus nerve and the slowing of your metabolic demand, your skeletal muscles have surrendered their tension entirely. You are a passenger on a silent vessel, floating through the darkness of space, supported by the invisible laws of physics. In this stillness, reflect on the truth of your composition. Every atom in your body, from the iron in your hemoglobin to the calcium in your bones and the carbon in your DNA, was forged in the triple alpha process and the supernova deaths of ancient stars billions of years ago. You are not merely watching the cosmos. You are the cosmos experiencing itself through the lens of a highly specialized nervous system. The magnesium in your synapses, which allows for the very thoughts you are having now, was once part of a glowing nebula, millions of light years away. As you sleep, you are returning to that ancestral state of belonging. The vastness of space is not a cold, empty place, but a supportive embrace, the comforting void. Just as the universe expands into the silence, your mind is now expanding into the warmth of sleep. The boundaries of your personal narrative are fading, replaced by the deep, anonymous peace of the elements. You are a collection of stardust, organized with exquisite precision, currently undergoing a period of essential maintenance. The rhythmic pulsing of your slow waves is the heartbeat of the universe, a reminder that you are part of a grand, unbroken continuity. As we reach the end of this narrative journey, the education of the mind gives way to the restoration of the spirit. The facts of your biology are the foundation of your peace. Let the weight of the adenosine, the surge of the melatonin, and the slow power of the delta waves carry you now. You are safe in the hands of your own physiology. You are a miracle of neuroscience, a child of the stars, and a participant in the infinite dance of the void. I am resting in the silence of the cosmos. My mind is a quiet observatory, clear and still. My body is a vessel of stardust, warm and heavy. I am surrendered to the rhythm of the slow waves. The dark is my sanctuary, and the void is my home. The work of the day is done. The repair of the night has begun. I am part of the universe's long, beautiful dream. Every cell in my body is bathed in peace. I am weightless, floating in a sea of tranquility. I am returning to the source of all things. The light of the distant stars is a soft glow within me. The silence of space is the silence of my mind. The slow dance of gravity is the movement of my breath. I am safe. I am whole. I am home. As the last echoes of this story fade, allow the darkness to become your total reality. There is no more to learn, no more to observe, and no more to do. There is only the long, slow descent into the heart of the night, where the atoms of your being will rest in the cradle of the universe. The journey is complete. The stars are watching over you. The void is holding you. It is time to let go of the last threads of awareness and sink into the deep, velvet embrace of a dreamless rest. Good night.